Telling Stories Through Trauma Inside the Ropes by John Reed. Imagine the two people that you can trust the most in your life, whether this be your best friend, your significant other, someone that you can tell anything to, someone that you can rely on. Now, imagine that one of them is asking you to betray the other. Well, would you do it? What trauma will be created from the simple question, me or them, choose? To professional wrestler Kenny Omega, this was the case, because he had to make a choice to help the man that gave him everything he could ever want, while betraying his lover in the process, or let his lover take everything from the man that gave him anything he wanted. Kenny Omega's career in Japan has been laced with trauma as the underlying theme. And when you take a look at his career through the lens of trauma theory, you can see all of these little details that define the theory somewhere in his career.
Today I'm going to tell you the trauma-filled story that is the Golden Lovers. But in my paper that goes alongside this video, I also talk about another storyline that deals a great amount in trauma. Before I go into the story of the Golden Lovers, here is a little on trauma theory. The most recognizable name contributed to trauma theory is Kathy Caruth, and the work of hers that I mostly use within this piece is from Unclaimed Experience, Trauma, Narrative, and History. Trauma theory's biggest components are something that happened too fast to understand, lapse in the memory, someone's voice that needs to be heard, and not being able to put the problem into words. In this presentation, I will show you the connections between these main points and the moments in the Golden Lover's career. The image of the two men from the first slide was of the Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, two of the biggest stars from the Japan region of pro wrestling. They are called the Golden Lovers because, well, they are in love with each other. In kayfabe, that is. Kayfabe is wrestling lingo for making the stories we tell seem as real as possible. Kenny and Kota bonded over a match that they had, and instead of following tradition and doing a series of matches, they became a tag team. And since they were best friends in real life, it made their kayfabe love seem all that more believable. One day, their employers, New Japan Pro Wrestling, decided to give Kota a push. A push is giving a character development arc that involves them coming out of the story looking better than before. While they decided to push Kota, they didn't have anything planned for Kenny Omega. Seeing his lover get more and more wins while he was losing more and more, you can see the jealousy start building up in Kenny's eyes. One day, Kenny fought Prince Devitt, and during the match, Kenny realized that Devitt was not alone. He had an entire army backing him up called the Bullet Club. While Kota was getting more popular with the fans, Kenny joined the villainous Bullet Club in the hopes of finally catching back up to Kota. Within Bullet Club, Kenny would finally start winning matches. He would even win championships. One day, Kota Ibushi was given an opportunity at the World Championship, which was held by the leader of the Bullet Club, AJ Styles. It was expected that Bullet Club would interfere in the match to give their leader an advantage. For Kenny, though, this wasn't some random opponent. It was his lover. The entire match, Kenny stayed perfectly still on the outside. He was torn. He was asked to betray his lover or let his lover take everything from his leader. He stood there, not moving a muscle, the entire match until the very end, when he finally climbed onto the apron and just stared at Kota. Nothing else. He just looked. Kota looked back at him You can see the disappointment in his face. This small moment is what cost Kota his match, as AJ won the match as a result of Kenny's interference. This was the moment that happened too fast for Kenny Omega to realize what had happened. You see Kathy Carruth and Kali talk about some possible causes of trauma, listing war, abuse, cultural, natural disasters, etc. as causes of trauma. But I think that betrayal can be just as traumatic as the others. Because in the following months, Kenny Omega's expression in and outside of the ring were more of someone who had experienced an unspeakable trauma. He was focused on something else. The moment in the clip is the source of his character's personal trauma. He made his choice. He chose to betray his lover. In AJ's celebration after the match, Kenny is seen to the side not celebrating. His expression told the story. He didn't know what he just did. The Golden Lovers story was so unique in the realm of professional wrestling that the most prestigious of wrestling journalists, Dave Meltzer, mistaken Kenny's trauma for something that it wasn't. As several Bullet Club members celebrated the win, Omega seemed distant from the celebration. It seemed like the beginnings of a long drawn-out tease regarding Omega's issues with Styles or the rest of the Bullet Club. Dave Meltzer rarely misses a single story element in his newsletters in the last 40-plus years, but Meltzer completely overlooked the nearly decade-long love story that the Golden Lovers had. What Meltzer predicted in his newsletter came true a few months later, in January 2016, when Kenny Omega and the rest of the Bullet Club turned on AJ Styles, putting himself as a leader of the Bullet Club. Kenny has now betrayed both the men that meant the most to him, showing a repeat of action. In that year's G1 Climax, the most grueling tournament in all of pro wrestling, Kenny Omega would win the tournament by using the finishing move of Kota Ibushi and AJ Styles. After the match, he was asked why he used Kota's and AJ's moves, and Kenny simply replied with a "what?" He didn't realize that he was doing any of their moves. He had a shock look on his face when he heard that he had to rely on the moves of the two men that he betrayed to get an opportunity at the World Championship. Carruth would say, the other within the self that retains the memory of the unwitting dramatic events of one's past would come true in moments that one suffering from trauma least expects. Kenny Omega would face Kazuchika Okada, who at this point in his career could be considered Japan's Hulk Hogan when Hogan was in his prime. He started to go for Kota's and AJ's moves, but realized what he was doing this time, and each time he went for them, he stopped himself. Everything he was doing was failing, and he eventually lost to Okada. Afterwards, he was asked if he thought he could have won the match if he used Kota's and AJ's finishing moves on Okada. Kenny remained silent, staring off into the crowd of reporters with a blank face, not able to form words about the trauma that he had experienced. At the following year's G1 Climax, Kenny would lose in the finals, and while being helped to the back by the Young Bucks, he is confronted by Kota. This is the first time they are seen together in 2 years.
Hey, stay back here. Hey, let these guys. Hey, stay back. Hey, let these guys. Okay? Stay back. Stay back. Relax. Give these guys some space. Give them some space. Give them some space.
This is an example of the voice that needs to be heard. Carruth claims that trauma literature theory must have a character that has a voice that it cannot fully know, but to which it nonetheless bears witness to. And this is what Kenny Omega's storytelling is about. His matches show that he needs his former lover and friend to get him through matches, and being confronted by his lover after 2 years, Kenny was on the verge of tears. And Bullet Club, being the villains that they were, failed to see that the reader was in pain, but Kota, knowing Kenny better than anyone, knew that something was wrong. A new member of the Bullet Club, Cody Rhodes, the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, did see Kenny's pain, but instead of trying to help Kenny, he saw it as an opportunity to become the leader of the Bullet Club. Cody's first step in this was attacking Kota Ibushi after the match. Cody had a steel chair in his hands and was about to smash it over Kota's head when Kenny ran down to make the save. Kota sat in the middle of the ring, looking at his former lover, hoping that this would pass the bridge that Kenny burnt all those years ago, but Kenny rode out of the ring, clutching at his head. A month later, Cody attacked Kenny and had him in the same situation. This time, Kota was the one that made the save.
I don't think Omega wanted the help, Kevin.
Maybe Kota is having some second thoughts now.
Well, Omega's been obliterated. Look out now, this could break down. Oh!
Oh!
The Golden Lovers were reunited. The pain that had built up for 4 years was being healed. Kenny was able to let his guilt out that he had this entire time. He was unable to put his feelings into words or talk about the trauma leading up to the reunion. With Kota at his side, he was able to defeat Kazuchika Okada for the World Championship. When Kota and Kenny reunited, the commentators were baffled that the love story didn't follow tradition of the betrayed becoming the betrayer, but proving that love can overcome and even heal the trauma we face. Stories told through trauma are easily some of the best that wrestling can offer. I think that the performance that Kota and Kenny had throughout this 10-year plus story is a very unique and that has never been seen in wrestling before. And the story is still being told as late as February 2020. Kenny was in a match against the Young Bucks. They used one of Kota's moves on him, and Kenny shot up immediately and attacked the Young Bucks for daring to mimic his lover. Stories told through trauma are stories that can last far longer than stories without it, giving the story depth, background, and motivation for stars besides simply wanting to win a match. And this story that Kenny and Kota masterfully told is just one of the reasons that I'm a wrestling fan.